Hello, good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
Okay, do you have questions regarding the company taxation? Because I think we have done two examples last week. So if you don't have issues regarding the company taxation, we can move to the partnership taxation. I have shared answers also, questions and answers for company taxation. Uh, shall we move to the partnership taxation? Shashikala. Madam, still we didn't receive any tudes for company tax. What do you mean by tudes? What do you mean by tudes? Because last time also I explained no tudes specifically for company taxation because all regulations, all provisions are very similar except rates and uh, relief and qualifying payments. I explained them last week. So still you are asking that question. So what do you require? What do you mean by that? Because when we are doing that example, I think you could understand what is the difference between individual taxation and company taxation. That question paper and answers. I have shared that question papers and answers with you. So I requested Miss Kalhari to share it with you. I shared it on the same day we did that our lesson. So I think I have shared two questions and answers for company, then for partnership. Haven't you received? කල්හරි මම ඔයාට ගිය සතියේ ෂෙයා කරා නේද මේ මොනවාද කම්පැනි ටැක්සේෂන් වල ආන්සර්ස් උයි ක්වෙස්චන්ස් ඔව් ඒකම ආන්සර්ස් උත් දාලා තිබුණා ඔව් එක්සෙල් හතරක් දාලා තිබුණා පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් වල ආන්සර්ස් උත් එක්ක ඔව් ඊට පස්සේ ඊළඟ දෙකම එකම දවසේ දැම්මේ questions ටික දැම්ම මුලින් ඊට පස්සේ answers දැම්ම partnership ප්‍රශ්නයි answers උයි කියලා share කරලා නැද්ද බලන්න චුට්ටක් හරි එකම දවසේ දෙකක් දාලා ඇති හරි ඊට පස්සේ තව එකක් තියෙනව නේද answers කියලා අන්න එතන බලන්න එතන පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප්ස් උත් එක්ක තියෙනවා දෙකම තියෙනව නේද answers උයි ඒක ෂෙයා කරලා නැද්ද තාම අන්න හරි ඔව් answer ඒතකොට තව තියෙනවනේ ABC රසිකා and තිලකා පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප්ස් දෙකක තියෙනව නේද බලන්න ඇටැච්මන්ට් වල ඇටැච්මන්ට් හතරක්ද කොහෙද තිබුණා හරි නේද හරි ඕකේ thank you Takshila, can you share today lecture materials through the chat? Also, 2 handouts were not uploaded in the LMS. Capital gain investment income. I have already numbered all reading materials I have shared with you, and now I think she shared it with one of the students, so she will share it with you, because I shared it with Miss Kalhari on last date that we had our lesson. Have you got it?
I'm sharing, madam.
Okay, you can share it. Then shall we start from the partnership, or you need අපි කම්පැනිස් දෙකටම අදාළ උත්තර සාකච්ඡා කරා නේද? කවුරු හරි මට පොඩ්ඩක් හෙල්ප් කරන්න. I think I have done 2 questions for company taxation and I have already shared answers. Shall we start from the partnership? මොකද කියන්නේ? Miss Kulini, can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yes, so I think I have done 2 answers last time.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yes, madam.
For 2 companies. Yes. Then shall we start partnership taxation today, or you need further clarification or further explanation regarding that company taxation? මොකද කියන්නේ? කට්ටියගේ මට උත්තරයක් ඕනේ. company tax ගැන තව මොන හරි ගැටලු තියෙනවද? එහෙම නැත්නම් අද partnership taxes ටික කරලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ answers ටික I think you have received answers today itself, so you can try to do that calculation by your own, then you can ask any questions you have. මොකද හිතන්නේ? ගොඩක් රෑ වුණා. කියන්න මට මොකද්ද කරෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා. මොකද මේ මම එක එක දවසට එක එක කට්ටිය එනවා ඇති. Shall we start from the partnership?
Okay, madam.
Okay. Okay, now we are going to start. Now we are going to start from the partnership today. So partnership taxation is little bit different from the individual taxation and company taxation. For individual taxation and company taxation, the difference is mainly the applicable tax rates and the relief, because for individual taxation reliefs are available. For company taxation, for companies reliefs are not available. The next one is for the qualifying payment part. For individuals, we can give for charitable institutions, that is 75,000 or 1/3 of the taxable income or the amount donated. For the companies, that is 1/5 of the taxable income or 500,000, or the amount donated is the amount that can be considered as qualifying payment. For the donation to a government or any other government institution, without any restriction, total amount can be allowed. So that is the difference. In addition to that, for the company individual taxation, Applicable tax rates are progressive tax rates. That means from 6% to 36%. But for company, we have flat rate, that is 30%. But for liquor and tobacco businesses, that is 40%. For the individual also, for liquor and tobacco businesses, that is 40%. That is a flat rate. And for the capital gain taxes for individual, that is 10%. For the capital gain of the company, that is 30%. So those are the difference between individual taxation and the company taxation. All other provisions are very similar. But for the partnership taxation, the calculation of partnership taxation is similar. Qualifying reliefs, qualifying payments, and applicable tax rates are the difference. So that means for partnership, there is a relief, but it is not a relief that we granted for individual. That relief is something different, and qualifying payment is applicable for partnership, and applicable tax rates are different. So when I have a presentation slides for partnership taxation, because it is a little bit different from individual and company taxation. So what is the meaning of a partnership? We in section 195, so section 195 is for the interpretation. In that interpretation section, we have a specific definition for a partnership. In our business world, we have different types of business entities. Some are individual, we call it sole proprietorships. Some are companies that should be registered under Companies Act. In addition to that, we have partnerships. Partnerships means two or more persons, individuals or corporations should be there. Not only one person, but there should be more than one. So partnership means, so now we have a definition for a partnership. It says partnership means an association of two or more individuals or corporations. So now you can understand, to become a partnership, definitely there should be two or more individuals or two or more corporations, or one individual and one corporation also okay. That means not only one person or one entity, there should be more than one. That means two or more should be there to form a partnership. That should be carrying on business jointly for the purpose of making profit. So it should be jointly engaging, and the purpose of that partnership is making a profit. But irrespective of whether the association is recorded in writing, that means verbal partnerships also can be formed. Not only written partnership, verbal partnerships also can be formed. So that is the partnership definition. So for the partnership also, we have resident and non-resident partnerships. I think you can remember, for individuals we had that residency rule, and for the companies also we had the residence rule, and for the partnership also we have residence rule. Very beginning I have explained it to you. So for the partnership also we have resident rule. For the residence for income tax purposes, in the section 69(2), it says a partnership shall be resident in Sri Lanka. That means that partnership is considered as a resident partnership in Sri Lanka for a year of assessment if it was formed in Sri Lanka. That means if that partnership is formed in Sri Lanka, then we can consider that partnership as a resident partnership in Sri Lanka. In addition to that, not only that situation, but there may be another situation, that is, at any time during the year of assessment, the management and control of the affairs of the partnership are exercised in Sri Lanka. That means if the management of that partnership is exercised in Sri Lanka, of the control of the partnership is exercised in Sri Lanka, then we can consider that partnership as a resident partnership in Sri Lanka. Now we have section 53 because specific sections are provided for partnership taxation. For the companies also we have a specific provision. As well we have a specific provision for partnerships, that is section 53. In that section 53 it says, from January 1st 2020 partnerships are liable to pay income tax separately from their partners. That means prior to that date, prior to January 1st 2020, partnerships were not liable to pay taxes, but partnerships should calculate their tax liability, not the tax liability but the assessable income. After that, partnership had to apportion that assessable income into the partners. After that, partners should pay taxes by that partners, not the partnership. That means prior to that date, partnerships were not liable to pay taxes, but they had to apportion their assessable income, and as a withholding part they had to divide it into partners. But after January 1st 2020, partnerships are liable to pay income tax separately. That means income tax separately means as an individual, as a company, partnerships also should calculate their tax liability, and that means assessable income from business, assessable income from investment, assessable income from other sources, and total assessable income, then taxable income. After that, tax rates should be applied to that partnership. So partnership income or loss must be allocated to partners according to the provisions of that. That means after calculating tax liability of that partnership, if there is an income or a loss, that means assessable income, not the taxable income, assessable income of the partnership should be allocated to partners according to the provisions of that. So there are some specific provisions for the partnerships. According to that provisions, tax liability or income or loss should be allocated to partners. In addition to that, if any income, expenses, assets or liabilities held or incurred jointly by the partners, that means not only one partner but partners jointly incurred expenditure or jointly incurred some liabilities or held income or held assets, that is considered as the partnership's income, expenses, assets or liabilities, not one or two individual partners' income, expenses, assets or liabilities, because that is held or incurred by jointly by the partners. If that is held by one or each single partner, that can be considered that person's income or liability. But if it is jointly incurred or held by the partners, that means that is a partnership's income, expenditure, assets or liability. Such assets and liabilities are considered acquired or incurred when they begin to be held or owned jointly and realized when no longer held or owned jointly. So all business activities, that means for partnerships also, there may be not only one business activity, there may be several business activities. If they have more than one business activity, all business activities should be treated as part of a single business, not separate businesses, but all business activities should be considered as a single business. So the next important thing in the partnership is, if there are some agreements between the partnership and its partners should be generally recognized. That means there may be some agreements between partnerships and partners, but we do not consider it as separately, but it should be a partnerships income or expenditure. But except loans from a partner and interest paid on them. That means partner can grant loans to the partnership, and that partner is entitled to receive interest. Sometimes for the employment, sometimes partners can serve as an employee of that partnership. That time they can obtain some income. In addition to that, all should be considered as the partnership income or liability. So you can understand these things when we are calculating the tax liability of the partnership. So this is the example. When we are calculating adjusted business profit, to that business profit we have to add partner service fees, salaries, and interest on loans to the adjusted business profit. Then we can calculate assessable income from business. That means we cannot pay for a partner a service fee, salary, or interest on loans. It is also a part of the business income. So that is why we have to add that amount to the adjusted profit, because when we are calculating that adjusted profit, normally that partnership can deduct these things, but when we are calculating the assessable income from business, the amounts paid to the partners as service fee, salary, and interest on loans should be added back. Sometimes partnerships can be සමහරවිට පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් තියෙන පාර්ට්නර්ස්ලා මොකද කරන්නේ? පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එක මොකක්ද ඒකට කියන්නේ? පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එක අහෝසි කරලා දාන්නේ. Sometimes they can cancel their partnership. If they have done that kind of things, what will happen? If at least two partners are still remaining in that partnership, we consider that partnership is as the same entity which was in the earlier. ඒ කියන්නේ partnership එකක partnersලා ගොඩක් ඉඳලා හිතමු. For an example, there were 3 partnerships. One partner is for some reason one partner is removed from their partnership. So what will happen? Still there is two partners are still remain. So at that time we consider that partnership as the partnership which was in the earlier. ඒ කියන්නේ partnership එකෙන් දෙන්නෙක්වත් අඩුමතරමේ තවදුරටත් ඉන්නවා නම් ඒ පරණ partnership එකක් විදිහටම we can consider as it as the earlier partnership, similar partnership කියලා. නැත්නම් අයිතිය වෙනස් වුණා කියලා අපි සලකන්නේ නැහැ. And each partner is responsible for fulfilling the partnership's tax obligation. That means not only to one partner but each partner is responsible. We cannot say they are, for an example, there are three partners. We cannot say only partner A should responsible for the tax liability. We can't say that because each partner is responsible for fulfilling the partnership's tax obligation. And this is also very similar to the individual and company taxation. Partnership income tax liability also includes business source, investment source and other sources. Similarly, any loss for that year refers to losses from the partnership's business or investment activities as per section 19. That means section 19 is applicable not only to individual taxation and to the company taxation, but it is applicable to partnership taxation as well. ඔගොල්ලෝ ප්‍රශ්න කරගන්නවා හැම වෙලාවෙදිම කම්පැනි වලට වෙනම ටියුට්ස් දුන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. එහෙම වෙනම ටියුට්ස් දෙන්න කම්පැනි වලටවත් ඉන්ඩිවිජුවල් අයටවත් කියලා වෙනම ටියුට්ස් දෙන්න විශේෂයක් නැහැ. applicable provisions are very similar. ඔයගලන්ට ගාන හදනකොට ඒක තේරෙන්නේ නැති. partnership එකේදී පුංචි වෙනස්කම් කීපයක් තියෙනවා. That is why I am giving this presentation slides. So, a partner's share of partnership income or a loss for a year of assessment must be included in or deducted from their income. That means, after calculation of the partnership's assessable income or a loss, we have to apportion that income or loss to the partners. Then, in the partners, when we are calculating the individual single partner's tax liability, we have to consider that partnership's share of income or a loss. අපි partnership income tax හදලා partnership එකේ assessable income එක අර සාමාන්‍ය විදියටම ඒ provisions මේ apply කරලා හදනවා. හදලා ඉවර වෙලා partnership එකේ assessable income එක partners ලට බෙදනවා. බෙදුවට පස්සේ in the hands of that partnerට employment income එකක් තිබුණොත් ඒක separately ගන්නවා. partnerගේ sole proprietorship එකක් තිබුණොත් ඒකේ income එක business income එක වෙනම ගන්නවා. මේ partnership එකෙන් අර partnerගේ කොටස proportionately calculate කරපු කොටස එයාගේ individual taxation එක calculate කරනකොට ඒකත් එයාගේ income එකක් විදිහට සලකනවා. ඒක තමයි මෙතනින් මේ කියලා තියෙන්නේ. Based on the partnerships year. That means if we are calculating the partnership's tax liability for the year of assessment 24-25, for the same year of assessment, that partnership's portion of that partner should be considered when we are calculating that partner's tax liability for the year of assessment 24-25. Then gains from selling or partnership interest. That means sometimes partners can sell their partnership interest to another person, another individual. At that time, that income is considered as a business income and taxed accordingly with adjustments under section 56. So yes, that's the thank you Rifan. I don't know how to spell it. Rifan. Thank you very much. That is the word dissolve. Then madam, I have a question. Partnership business is liable to pay tax at 30%. Plus, the partner is also liable to pay tax on income from partnership. One income tax twice. No, that is what I am explaining. So, after we are calculating partnership's tax liability, it is not taxed at the rate of 30%. We have separate tax rates for partnerships. And after that, we have to consider the assessable income from partnership for the partner also. After calculating partner's tax liability, the amount paid for the partnership can be deducted as a tax credit. So, because of that, it is not taxed twice. I think you can understand. We have several examples. Then you can understand it very clearly. Okay. Where were we? Yes, when we are selling, if a partner wants to sell his partnership interest to another person, another individual or another person, then that income should be considered as business income of that partner under section 56. Any income or loss allocated to partners keeps its original type and source. What is the meaning of that? That means, as I have already explained, when we are calculating partnership tax liability, separately we have to identify the business income, investment income and other income. So, when we are allocating that assessable income to the partners also, the original source and original type should be there. That means, if we are allocating assessable income from business to partners, in the hands of the partner, that portion is assessable income from the partnership of, that means that is the assessable income from business of the partnership. If we are allocating assessable income from investment of the partnership to partners, in the hands of the partner, that income should be identified as assessable income from investment from the partnership. That means original type of the income and the source of the income should be kept as it is. Considered earned or incurred by the partner at the end of the partnership assessment year. That means, if it is for the year of assessment 24-25, in the hands of the partners also it is an income for the year of assessment 24-25. Must be allocated based on each partner's share, unless the Commissioner General decides otherwise in writing for valid reasons. So, must be allocated based on each partner's share means, if partnership has separate sharing rate ratio, we have to do it as it has mentioned in the agreement. If it is not, it should be allocated equally to partners. Taxes paid by the partnership. Now we are in that an issue with regard to the double taxation. You have answer. So it says, taxes paid by the partnership, including foreign income tax, are allocated to partners based on their share in the partnership. So now you can understand it. These taxes are considered paid by the partners themselves. So, based on their share in the partnership, it should be calculated separately. Shareship should be calculated separately. So, tax credit should be allocated based on the share in the partnership. These taxes are considered paid by the partners themselves. That means that partnership tax should be paid by the partnership, but After allocating it to the partners, we consider that payment is as made by that partner, not the partnership. That is why we are granting tax credit for the payments made by the partnership with no right to a refund of any excess. That means sometimes when we are calculating the partner's tax liability, it may be lower, but the share in the partnership allocated as a credit may be higher. Then there will be a refund, but tax partners are not entitled to obtain that refund, but they can carry forward that tax credit in the following year, not all years but the following year. For an example, suppose for the year of assessment, partners tax liability is 100,000. But after allocating partnership's tax credit, it may be 150,000. Then there is an excess amount of 50,000. But we do not refund that excess 50,000 to the partner, but we can carry forward, that partner can carry forward that 50,000 only to the following year to obtain a tax credit, to consider it as a tax credit. ඒක ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දට විතරයි ගෙනන්න following year, not the following years. ඒවා හොඳට වචනත් එක්ක ඒ අදහස ගන්න. එතකොට partnership tax liability එක අපි හදනවා. හදලා partnership tax liability එක ගෙවනවා partnership එක විසින්. ගෙවුවට පස්සේ ඒ partnership එකට partners ලාට තියෙන share එක අනුව මේ tax ගෙවපු tax එක credit එකක් විදියට partnerට හිමි වෙනවා. partner separately තමන්ගේ tax liability එක හදනකොට අර partnership එකෙන් හම්බ වුණු කොටසත් එයාගේ income එක පෙන්නනවා වෙනම income එක පෙන්නලා partnership එක ගෙවපු tax එක credit එකක් විදියට අඩු කරනවා. මේ credit එකක් විදියට අඩු කරනකොට බැරි වෙලාවත් partnerගේ liability එක partnership එකේ liability එකට වඩා අඩු වුණොත් එතන හැදෙනවා refund එකක්. But under section 55, refunds are not allowed. Refund එකක් allow කරන්නේ නැහැ taxpayer. Therefore, that excess amount can be carried forward to be deducted in the following year. Tax credit එකක් විදිහට ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේදී මේක එයාගේ payable amount එකට against can be deducted. මෙන්න මේ part එක තමයි මේ partnerships වල තියෙන විශේෂත්වය. The allocation is made when the income is treated as derived by the partners and each partner's share is determined according to the partnership agreement. එතකොට මේ partnership එකේ agreement එකේ හැටියට partnership එකේ share එක determine වෙනවා. Income splitting prevention provisions. So in the act specifically given this section, that is section 34, to prevent splitting of income. What is the meaning of splitting of income? For an example, for a partner, there may be a partnership. That partners can be the family members. That means husband and wife are family members. Then what can they do? They can pay some amounts to their family relations. Sometimes partner can pay some amounts to their partner's spouse. For a husband can pay some amounts to their wives as a salary. So that is income splitting. That means to avoid making tax payments, they can deduct lot of expenses, that is fraudulent expenses. සමහර වෙලාවල් වලට පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකේ tax liability එක අඩු කරගන්න වයිෆ්ට පුතාට දුවට හරි කොහෙට හරි කීක payment කරන්න පුළුවන්. But if that payment is made to his wife, we consider it as an income splitting. So they are doing it to avoid making tax payments. So because of that, there is a specific provision. We call it income splitting prevention provisions. Where a spouse receives, here we are hearing only the spouse, not the children. Where a spouse receives income for services rendered in any business carried on or exercised the other spouse. That means husband and wife. So husband can make payments to his wife as a salary or by a partnership of which that other spouse is a partner. The income shall be included in the income of the spouse who carries on the business or that partnership of which that other spouse is a partner. So partner, if partner is husband and the partner to his wife, that means that is splitting of income. He want to hide his income by paying salary to his wife. So what we have to do? We have to add back that salary to the partnership when we are calculating the tax liability. You can understand it when we are calculating tax liability of the partnership. Then we have one more another important word, that is precedent partner, because some tax liabilities, some responsibilities are there to a precedent partner. So there is a definition. Precedent partner means the partner who of the active partners resident in Sri Lanka. In first named in the agreement, sometimes in the first name of in the agreement of partnership. If there is no such agreement, sometimes verbal agreements also can be. So we cannot see. There are written agreements, there may be written agreements for partnership or verbal agreements. So if it is a written agreement, first named in the agreement, there is no such agreement, is specified by the name initial singly or with precedence to the other partners in the usual name of the partnership or in the first name in the statement under section 4 of the Business Names Act. Because I think you have heard about partnerships. So some specific provisions are there to form a partnership. Business Names Act also there, and for the partnership there is a specific partnership act. Partnership act එක ඔගොල්ලෝ අහලා ඇති මේ partnership act එකේ හැටියට සහ business names act, there is a business name act. අපි කියනවා ව්‍යාපාර නාම ආඥා පනත. මේ පනත්වල හැටියට පළවෙනියම නාම තියෙන කෙනා. So these are the applicable tax rates for partnerships. Earlier I mentioned that there are no specific tax reliefs for entities, but only for individuals we have a relief. But for the partnership, it is not a relief, but it is a type of relief, because for the first 1 million taxable income, 0% is the tax rate. That means that is also a kind of a relief, but a relief like a relief available to an individual. For the individuals we have 1.2 million for up to 24-25. After 25-26, that is 1.8 million. For the partnerships, we don't have a relief, but this is also a like of a relief, but it is not a relief, because we consider it as a relief because that is 0% up to 1 million For the first 1 million, that is 0%. For the balance, that is 6%. So these are the applicable tax rates for partnerships. එතකොට partnership වල මම කලින් කියපු එක වෙනසක් තමයි මේ. Partnership එකේ applicable tax rate. For the capital gain, that is 10%. This is because this is also similar to the individual, because even though we have to pay taxes for partnership, finally it will be given to partners as a tax credit. That is why we have similar tax rates and lower tax rates to partnerships. For the year of assessment 25-26, proposed to increase it to 15%. That is for the individuals also proposed to increase it to 15%. Okay, now we have an example. Let's try to calculate this tax liability of the partnership. Saman and Samantha are professionals in a partnership, sharing profits on equal basis. That means they are sharing their income on equal basis. They derived following gains and profits during the year of assessment 24-25. Local professional service received for the year of assessment 24-25 is 60 million. That means local service income is 60 million. Professional services provided to the clients outside Sri Lanka, that means foreign currency received to the bank, and total income is 20 million. So we have given this because we know that the services rendered in or outside Sri Lanka, and if we are receiving foreign currency through a bank, that is exempt. That is only up to 24-25. After that, this part is also tax liable, but up to 24-25, that kind of services are tax exempt. Then expenses and deductions other than donations and payments to partners. That means all allowed deductions, expenses are 30 million other than donations and payments to partners. That means other than following payments. Partner salaries, that means for two partners are there, husband and wife, or Mr. Saman and Miss Samantha, Saman and Samantha, or Saman and Samantha. So two are there. For them, partnership paid salaries to Saman 6 million, Samantha 3 million. Then loan interest payment to Samantha, that is 800,000. Then commission payment to Samantha, that is 500,000. Donation to a government hospital approved charity 800,000. Income tax quarterly payment, that is 2 million. So these are the expenses paid to partners, and the first expenditure, that is expenses and deductions, that is 30 million. So this 30 million is other than the expenses given as payments to partners and to donations to government. That means this 30 million is expended for the purpose of this professional service. That means local services 60,000 and to the foreign services 20,000. Total expenditure incurred was 30 million. So what is the meaning of that? 60,000ක local income එකක්, million 60ක local income එකක්, and 20 million foreign income. For that 80 million, he incurred expenditure of 30 million. That means this is 60 million is liable, 20 million is exempt. So I think you can remember when we are considering section 10, in that section there is a one major provision. It says expenses that are relevant to the exempt amounts are not allowed as a deduction. Why? exempt income එකක් earn කරන්න දරපු වියදමක් බද්දට යටත් ඕ liable income එකකින් අඩු කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. 60 is liable income, 20 is exempt income. To earn this 80 million සමාදායකට 30 million. එතර මේක partnership වලට විතරක් නෙවෙයි, not only to individual partnerships, but when we are calculating an individual's tax liability, when you are calculating company's tax liability, it is same. ඒ කියන්නේ individual tax හැදුවත්, company tax හැදුවත්, partnership tax හැදුවත් section 10 එක හැමෝටම අදාළයි. From section 10 to section 19 all deduction rules are applicable for these tax calculations. එකක් දෙකක් තියෙනවා company එකට විතරක් අදාළ. I think you can remember section 18 is specifically applicable to company. All other provisions are relevant to individuals and partnerships. එතකොට section 10 වල ඔයගලන්ට මතක ඇති කිව්වා අපි පටන් ගත්තේ කොහමද? අපි ඔයගලන්ට I think you can remember the formula. First one is identification of the income. අර ඔයගලන්ට මම table එකක් දාලා පෙන්නුවා මතක ඇති. Business income, employment income, investment income. First of all, we have to identify the income and we have to categorize that income and into each sources. After that, we have to exclude some items in section. Each section, subsection 3 mention that the items that we have to exclude. In that subsection 3, it has mentioned exempt amounts and final withholding payments should be excluded. මතක ඇති මං හිතන්නේ මම ඔයගලන්ට සමරි එකක් කියලා පෙන්නුවා. පළවෙනියම deduction rules පටන් ගන්නත් කලින් ඉඳලා අපේ කොහොමද අපේ tax liability එක හදන්නේ. පළවෙනියම අපි tax identity අපි incomes ඔක්කොම identify කරගත්තා. income identify කරගත්තු income ටික sources වලට aggregate කරා, sources වලට බෙදුවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒ sources වලට අදාළව exempt amounts are final withholding payment ටික අයින් කරා. අයින් කරලා ඉවර වෙලා තමයි relevant deduction rules apply කරලා deduct කරේ. ඒක deduct කරාට පස්සේ තමයි අපිට ආවේ assessable income from business. මතක ඇති. assessable income from business හැදුවේ කොහොමද කියලා. When we are calculating the assessable income from business, we considered only the liable income. So because of that, when we are deducting expenses, we should deduct that expenses that are relevant to that liable income. Here they have incurred expenses not only to the liable income but to the exempt income. So expenditure incurred for the exempt income should be disallowed. එක partnership එකේදී විතරක් නෙවෙයි කියලා මම කිව්වා. individual taxation එකේදීත් company taxation එකේදීත් කොතන හෝ තැනක දීලා තිබුණොත් මෙන්න මේ income එක tax exempt කියලා ඒ tax income එකට අදාළ expenditure එකක් specifically identify කරගන්න පුළුවන් නම් අපි ඒක allow කරන්නේ නැහැ අඩු කරන්න. මේක speciallyම business income calculation එකේදී කළ යුතු වෙනවා. එතකොට මේ දෙකටම එක තමයි මම මේ partnership එකේදී මේක කතා කරන්නේ. Then salaries and loan interest. So now we can move to the answer. Now you know the local foreign service income, that is 60 million. Foreign professional service income, that is 20 million. Then deducted expenses 30 million. salary is 9 million, loan interest 800,000, commission 500,000, donation 800,000, accounting profit 38,900,000. That means accounting profit, not the profit calculated in accordance with the tax law, but the accounting profit. Then now we are going to calculate the income tax liability of Saman and Samantha's partnership. So this is how we should calculate tax liability of the partnership. First of all, we have to consider accounting profit. Normally we are giving this amount, we are call it accounting profit. Matakati, when we are calculating the individual taxation, when we are calculating the company taxation, we considered accounting profit. For the partnership also same. Then we can deduct excluded amounts. That means exempt amounts or final withholding payments. So here we have only exempt amounts. Then we can remove that part. Now we have only the liable income. If it is liable income, when we are deducting expenses also, we have to consider the liable amount. So we have already deducted these expenses when we are calculating the accounting profit. But for the calculation of partnership tax liability, we do not allow salaries paid to partners. So this is similar. This is common. That means expenditure attributable to exempt income should be disallowed, as I explained earlier. So we have to calculate it using this formula. Formula means 30 million is the 30 million is the here 30 million is the total expenditure incurred. 80 million is the total income. 30 million is incurred for 80 million. Then for the exempt 20 million, what is the amount incurred? We proportionately calculated it. That is 7.5 million. So we have to add it back because that expenditure is incurred for the exempt income. So it is not allowable as a deduction. Then salaries were paid to partners. That is also not allowable as a deduction for the partnership taxation because it is not allowed. Make a partnership tax එකේදී specifically මේ කියලා තියෙනවා salaries paid to partners are not allowed as a deduction. Loan interest paid to partners are not allowed as a deduction. Other expenses paid to partners, that means payments made to partners are not allowed as a deduction. So that is why we added it back. In addition to that, donations are not allowed to deduct when we are calculating the assessable income. So we added it back. Make මතකයිනේ දැන් individual වලදී සහ company වලදී මේ විදිහට අපි කරා. Then now we have the business income. Now we have the business income, that is 37.5 million. That is total assessable income because we don't have investment income. If we have an investment income, we have to separately identify it and separately mention here. Then that amount also should be added to the business assessable income from business to be calculated total assessable income. But here you have only business income only, so it is equal to the assessable income. මොකද assessable income එක විදිහට තියෙන business income විතරයි. බැරි වෙලාවත් interest එකක් තිබුණා නම් rent income එකක් තිබුණා නම් partnership එකකට ඒකත් මෙතනට එකතු වෙන්න ඕන. Then we can deduct qualifying payments, that is 800,000. That amount is paid to the government, so without restriction we can deduct. Then taxable income, that is 36,700,000. Then now we have taxable income. To that taxable income we can apply tax rates. For first 1 million, that is 0 rated, then no tax for that first 1 million. To the balance part, 6% is applicable. එතකොට මේක එක වෙනසක්. income tax individual අයත් එක්ක බලනකොට. So 6% is the only applicable tax rate for partnership. That is 2,142,000. Then that is the gross tax liability. Then installment paid, it has given in the question. See, here you can see income tax quarterly payment, that is 2 million. That 2 million can be deducted as an installment payment. Then balance payable is 142,000. Now we have calculated partnership tax liability. So we have to calculate not only the partnership taxation. Here you are requested to calculate, compute the income tax payable by the partnership and partners for the year of assessment 24-25. Not only the partnership but partners tax liability also should be calculated. Then we have to calculate the partners tax liability like this. This is a specific format. You have to keep this format in your mind. We have to calculate it separately. We call it Saman and Samantha partnership, distribution of partnership income, qualifying payments and credits. So when we are calculating the partnership income, it is completely different thing. එතකොට අපි මේ දෙක කතා කරපු company hari individual hari taxation එකට වඩා වෙනස් වෙනවා partnership calculation එක, because we have to calculate partnership tax liability separately and we have to make the payment separately. Then that income should be apportioned to the partners. Which income should be apportioned? Taxable income or the assessable income? We have to apportion total assessable income, not the taxable income. So that is the excess. So total assessable income is 37.5 million. We have to apportion it. So when we are apportioning it, we should do that calculation like this. So by the partnership, since here we have only 2 partners, we should have this table, income column, columns for partners, then the total column. This is definitely you should have to, you should prepare this kind of table. For if you have 3 partners, 3 columns should be there for partners, then the total column. All these columns are required. Then salary. Then we have to consider the payments made to each partners, because that income 6 million, 3 million, 800,000 and 500,000. These income are received by the partners from the partnership. Because of that, we consider that income also as a part of the income received from the partnership. So that is why we consider it separately. So salary is received by Saman and Samantha from the partnership. So it is also an income from the partnership. So 6 million and 3 million, that is 9 million. Then for the commission is received only by Samantha. So that is 500,000. You should mention it under total column. Total column is very essential. Then loan interest, that is 800,000. Then finally we have to mention only the balance income from business. You have to keep this column blank, this cage blank, and the cage for Samantha, it is also blank, and this 27.2 million cage also blank. Then you have to put the total amount in the total column, 37.5 million, because it is the total amount we have to allocate for the partners. That means 37.5 million is the total assessable income. මේ 37500ට වඩා වැඩි ගාණක් අපිට allocate කරන්න බෑ. මොකද this is the only amount we calculated as assessable income. ඒ හින්දා අපි assessable income එක 37500 මෙතනට දානවා. මේක දාලා මම කිව්වනේ I requested you to keep this cage blank. Then from this, using this 37.5 million, we have to calculate the amount for this cage. කොහොමද ඒක කරන්නේ? මේ 37500න් මේ 9,500,000 and 800,000 අඩු කරනවා. අඩු කරාම මෙතනට එන්න ඕන amount එක අපිට එනවා. Because total amount we received from the partnership is 37,500, but already we have received 9 million as a salary, 500,000 as a commission and 800,000 as a commission. Then the balance is 27.2 million. That is the amount we can apportion to partners equally. එතකොට ඒ නිසා මේක ඊට පස්සේ තමයි මේ දෙන්නට බෙදන්නේ. Yes, if profit sharing ratio was not given, it should be equally distributed. It is mentioned in the act also. Act එකෙත් කියනවා profit sharing ratio එක දීලා නැත්නම් equally බෙදන්න කියලා. So after that, what we have to do, the balance 27.2 million should be divided equally, because that is the amount mentioned in the agreement. එතකොට මේ 27 එක calculate කරගන්න ඕනේ අපි. 37.5 තමයි assessable income එක. මේ assessable income එක මෙයාට ලැබෙනකොට දැනටමත් එයාට මිලියන 9ක් salary විදිහට ලැබිලා ඉවරයි. commission විදිහට ලක්ෂ 5ක් ලැබිලා ඉවරයි. loan interest එක විදිහට ලක්ෂ 8ක් ලැබිලා ඉවරයි. එහෙනම් ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ 27.2 million. මේක තමයි මේ දෙන්නාට බෙදන්න වෙන්නේ. So after that, our income, each taxpayer's income from partnership is different, not the equal. Equal වෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ business income එක විතරයි. Other than this business income, they have received other income types, as a salary, as a commission, as a loan interest. So we have to calculate their total income from the partnership. Then we can deduct qualifying payments, because the partnership already paid qualifying payments, that is 800,000. That 800,000 should be equally divided into these partners, because their profit sharing ratio is equal. So that is why we are dividing it equally to two partners. Then the total is 800,000. Then what else? Then the balance, then the tax credits, then tax credits can be allowed. So tax credit also should be put in on the put here, that is 202 million. That 2 million should be apportioned to tax partners, but it is not equally. Why? Their income from partnership is not equal because of the amount of the salary, amounts of the commission and interest amount. So these are the income they have received from the partnership. So according to that ratio, we have to deduct tax credits for 2 million. Then for the final payment, we know that is 142,000. That 142,000 should be divided into two partners. Then the total tax credit is here. Then exempt amounts also mentioned as 6.25 and 6.25 because that is 20 million should be deducted, but from that 20 million expenditure can be deducted, that is 7.5. After that is 12.5. Now we have to calculate tax partner's tax liability. Shouldn't we go with the capital employed ratio? What is that? What is the capital employed ratio, madam, if profit sharing ratio was not given? Yes. Shouldn't we go with the capital employed ratio if available or given in the sum? What is the capital employed ratio? No, not that capital employed ratio, but the ratio we have to consider based on their income, based on the income received from the partnership. That is the amount they have to pay as tax. So that is why we are apportioning their tax credits based on the income they are receiving from the partnership. It says in the provision, you can see it here, based on their share in the partnership. So that based on that amount, tax credit should be deducted. ඒක හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. මෙතනදී business profit එක බෙදුවට partnership එකක partner කෙනෙකුට තමන් විසීම සැලරියක් දී ගන්න බෑනේ. තමන්ගේ ආයතනයෙන් තමන්ටම සැලරියක් ගෙවනවා. තමන්ගේ ආයතනයෙන් තමන්ම කමිෂන් එකක් ගන්නවා. අන්න ඒක තමයි මෙතනින් අපි ඉඩ නොදෙන්නේ. ඒ ඉඩ නොදෙන නිසා තමයි ඒකත් එකතු කරලා එයාට ලැබෙන ඉන්කම් එක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ. ඒතර මේ වලින් තමයි පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකකදී කට්ටිය තමන්ට හිතුමතේ දේවල් කරන්නේ. තමන්ට පාඩියක් ගෙවාගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන්නේ. මට හම්බුනේ පොඩි ගානයි ෂෙයාර් එක, ප්‍රොෆිට් ෂෙයාර් එක. මේක මගේ පඩියනේ කියලා. එහෙම කියන්න බෑ. සෝල් ප්‍රොප්‍රයිටර්ෂිප් එකකත් හිතන්න ඔක ගේ ළඟ කඩේ මුදලාලි වැඩ කරාට එයාට පඩියක් ගන්න බෑ. අන්න ඒ වගේ තමයි. මේක මෙයාගේ ඉන්කම් එක. So that is why we consider total amount as that partner's income. Then we have to calculate tax liability of a partner. So I am going to calculate someone's tax liability. Then no employment income. Then the business income. We know the partnership share. What is the partnership share? That is 19.6 million. For the someone's partnership income is 19.6 million. Business income, that is partnership share. If that someone has a sole proprietorship, that means separate business income from his own business, it should be separately mentioned. හිතන්න මේ සමන් කියන කෙනා තනියමත් කඩයක් දාගෙන හිටියා. තනියමත් බිස්නස් එකක් කරා, පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකකුත් කරා. එහෙමනම් බිස්නස් ඉන්කම් එකට තනියම කරපු බිස්නස් ඉන්කම් එක වෙනම ගන්නවා. පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකෙන් එන ඉන්කම් එක වෙනම ගන්නවා. ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් ඉන්කම් එක තනියම ඉන්කම් එක වෙනම ගන්නවා. පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකෙන් බිස්නස් ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් ඉන්කම් එකක් තිබ්බොත් වෙනම ගන්නවා. මෙයාටම තනියම බිස්නස් රස්සාවක් කරලා පඩි හම්බුනොත් ඒක වෙනම ගන්නවා. ඒ ඔක්කොම එකතු කරලා තමයි accessible income එක එන්නේ. Total accessible income. Here we don't have employment income. We don't have business income from sole proprietorship. Only partnership share is there, so that is 19.6 million. Then accessible income from business is 19.6 million. No investment income is given here. Then the total accessible income is 19.6 million. From that amount, qualifying payment can be deducted, because qualifying payment we have calculated we have apportioned it to each partner, that is 400,000. Then that 400,000 can be deducted. Then the personal relief also can be deducted for each partner. එතකොට මේ පාර්ට්නර්ට මේක අඩු කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඔයගලන්ට මම තව පොඩි දෙයක් කියන්නම්. මෙතන 1 මිලියන් කියන එක, මෙතන මේ 1 මිලියන් දීලා තියෙනවානේ. මේ 1 මිලියන් දුන්න කාලේ ඇත්තටම ඉස්සර පාර්ට්නර්ස් ලාගේ රිලීෆ් එක, ඉන්ඩිවිජුවල් ලාගේ රිලීෆ් එක ලක්ෂ 5ක් තිබිච්ච කාලේ, ලක්ෂ 5ක් විතර තියෙනකොට තමයි partners la at least there should be 2, so 1 million was given. එතකොට ඉස්සර partner individual එක්කෙනෙකුට ලක්ෂ 5යි relief එක, partnership එකේ හිටියොත් දෙන්නේ 1 million relief එකක් හම්බෙන නිසා තමයි මෙහෙම උනේ. මොකද partnership එක කියන එක ඉස්සර සැලකුවේ වෙනම entity එකක් විදිහට නෙවෙයි. එතන tax එකක් calculate කරේ නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ tax එක calculate කරන්න ගත්තා. කරාට පස්සේ බැරි වෙලාවත් පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකේ දෙන්නෙක් ඉඳලා මේ රිලීෆ් එකක් දුන්නාට පස්සේ ටැක්ස් එකක් එන්නේ නැත්නම් වැඩක් වෙන්නේ නැති නිසා තමයි 1 මිලියන් දීලා තිබුණේ. හැබැයි ඊට පස්සේ මේකට පර්සනල් රිලීෆ් එක ටික ටික වැඩි වුණා. Now that is 1.2 million, but we have not increased relief that 1 million amount given for partnership. පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකට තිබිච්ච 1 මිලියන් එහෙමම තියෙදි තමයි පර්සනල් රිලීෆ් එකේ එන්න වැඩි වුනේ. ඒ නිසා දැන් හැම වෙලාවෙදිම පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකෙන් අර රේස් වෙනසක් නොවන නිසා ලොකු ගානකින් කැපෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි එහෙම නැති වුණා නම් සමහර ලාවට පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකෙන් දුන්න ගාන පාර්ට්නර්ගේ අතේදී රිෆන්ඩ් එකක් වෙන්නත් ඉඩ තියෙනවා. then personal relief is 1.2. After that, taxable income 18 million. To that 18 million, we have to apply tax liability separately. That is 6.30,000. From that to that 6.30,000, partnership tax credit can be allowed. ඒතකොට partnership tax credit එක මතකයිනේ මේ තියෙන total tax credit එක. ඉස්සෙල්ලාම පටන් ගන්නකොටම ස්ටුඩන්ට් කෙනෙක් partnership එකට tax කරලා partner tax කරාම double tax නේද කියලා. දැන් තේරෙනවා ඉතින් double tax වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේම partnership tax rate එක 30% උත් නෙවෙයි. Now we can deduct this tax credit when we are calculating partners tax liability. This is summons, so partnership tax credit can be given. The balance amount should be paid by the partner, that is Mr. Saman. Then we can move to the tax liability of Samantha or Samantha. No employment income, business income only the partnership share, no sole proprietorship income, no investment income given in this example, only the assessable income from business. Then qualifying payment can be deducted, that is 400,000. Personal tax relief can be deducted. Now that person has, that partnership has a taxable income, that is 16.3. To that amount, we can apply progressive tax rates as an individual. Then partnership tax credit can be deducted. Then the balance amount is payable. That amount should be paid by the partner. If that amount is a refund, that refund is not refunded to the partner by the Inland Revenue Department, but the partner can carry forward that excess amount to the next period to be deducted as a credit. ඒක තමයි ඊළඟට මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ. මෙතන මේ ගානේ හැටියට partnersලා දෙන්නටම ආවේ payable එකක් නේ. Here for the Saman it is a balance payable, for the Samantha it is a balance payment. බැරි වෙලාවත් මෙතන gross tax credit කියන 5.4 million ට වඩා partnership tax credit එක වැඩි වුණා නම්, for an example suppose it is 7 million, then what will happen? tax credit එක වැඩි වුණා නම් මෙතන එන්නේ 4 million payable එකක් නෙවෙයි, but a refundable amount. That means approximately 2 million refundable amount. But that is not refunded by the that will not be refunded by the Inland Revenue Department, but it is refunds are not available on partnership tax credit. එතකොට partnership එක දුන්න ගෙවපු ගාන refund කරන්නේ නැහැ කිසිම වෙලාවක. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? එතන බැරි වෙලාවත් if it is not a balance payable but a refundable amount, that is not refunded, but it can be carried forward to be deducted in the following year, not the following years, only the following year. එතකොට ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේ tax liability එකක් මේ වගේම හැදුනහම අඩු කරනවා tax credit එකක් වගේ ඒක ඉස්සරහට ගෙනහිල්ලා බැරි වෙලාවත් ඊළඟ period එකෙත් අඩු කරන්න බැරි වුණත් ඒක හිම් පිටින්ම නැති වෙලා යනවා. So this is the partnership taxation. If you have questions you can ask. Otherwise, we can move to another 2 questions for partnerships. එතකොට මෙන්න මේ විදිහට තමයි partnership tax එක හැදෙන්නේ. ඕගලන්ට මෙතන බලා ගන්න තියෙන ප්‍රධානම කාරණා ටික තමයි partnership tax එකකදී මේ ගෙවන salaries partners ලට ගෙවන දේවල් මේ වගේ අඩු කරන්න ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා තමයි අපි මෙතන add back කරන්නේ. add back කරා කියන්නේ මෙතන එන 37 million කියන්නේ partners ලාට ගෙවන salary ඔක්කොම එකතුව. ඒ නිසා තමයි මෙතනට ඇවිල්ලා ඒ 37න් මේ උඩ තියෙන ඉලක්කම් තුන අඩු කරාට පස්සේ 27200 ආවේ. එතකොට මේ 27200 ගණනය කරන්නේ පස්සේ මේ ආපස්සටයි ගණනය කරන්නේ. මෙතන ගණනය කරලා මේ එන ගාන තමයි partnersලා දෙන්නට බෙදන්නේ. එතකොට මේ විදිහට තමයි යන්නේ. මෙතන මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේද තමයි business income එක තමයි බෙදලා තියෙන්නේ. business income එක අපි වෙනම calculate කරගෙන බෙදනවා. ඊට පස්සේ tax credit එක බෙදන්නේ මේ equally නෙවෙයි agreement එකේ තියෙන ගානට නෙවෙයි මෙයාට partnership එකෙන් ලැබෙන income එකට proportionately තමයි බෙදන්නේ. 19600යි 17900 කියන්නේ equal නැහැ. එතකොට මෙන්න මේ දෙකට අදාළව තමයි installment payment එක බෙදන්නේ. එතකොට total column is very important. After we calculating the total column, then we will calculate partners items figures. එතකොට total column එකට දාලා total column එකෙන් තමයි ආපස්සට මේ calculation යන්නේ. එතකොට මෙහෙම තමයි partnerships වල calculation ටික කෙරෙන්නේ. This is also similar question. ABC partnership. Mr. A, Mr. B and Mr. C are partners of a partnership business of manufacturing means 24 to 25%. So the net profit was 12 million. Similar to the previous one, you have given net profit after charging the following. So this 12 million is calculated after charging these things. Salary is paid to Mr. A 2 million, Mr. B 1.6 million. Mr. C has given a loan to the partnership, that is 5 million at the interest rate of 5%. Also, a loan taken from Mr. A's wife was 2 million at the interest rate of 6%. That is not the partner but the partner's wife. Mr. B's wife is working as a finance manager and the salary paid for the year was 2 million. So this is difference, not as earlier one, because in the earlier one this amount were paid to the partners, but here interest is paid to the partner's wife and salary was paid to the partner's wife. That is the difference between previous question and this one. Then profit distributed equally among partners. There was interest income of 300,000 and dividend income of 200,000 received as other income of the partnership. So not only the business income, other income also there. Donations made to the cancer hospital by the partnership 50,000. Then now you have to calculate partnership and partners share for the year of assessment 24-25. So let's move to the question. The difference here is some loans. First loan is provided by the partner, second loan is provided by partner's wife. The next difference is salary is paid to the partner's wife and interest income and dividend income also there. So we can move to the question answer. ABC partnership. Net profit, you know the net profit. Then from that net profit we have to remove dividend and interest. Why? It is also included in the 12 million, but this is net profit, is a book profit. In the book profit, dividend income and interest income also included, but we have to remove it because it is a separate source. We have to consider only the business source here, so we have to remove dividend and interest part. Then you have given salaries paid to partners, partner A and partner B, salaries were given. We added only the payments made to partners, not the partners' wives. So partners' salaries should be added. Loan interest paid to partners, that is also added, not the partner's wife's amounts. We allowed that amount as a deduction when we are calculating the assessable income from business. So after that we can calculate assessable income from business, that is 15.3 million, because deducted amount is 500,000, added amount is 15.85, the difference is 15.35. Then you have given interest income. Total assessable income is, after adding assessable income from business and assessable income from investment, then qualifying payments can be deducted, then taxable income, then payable tax. For the first 1 million, no tax liability. For the balance part, that is 6%, that is 860,000. Total tax payable amount is 876,000. Now we are going to calculate each one's income. When we are calculating the income, we have to consider it like this. A, B and C are the partners. So salary is paid to A and B. Here I have mentioned total column first because it is very important. Salary is 3.6. Interest on loans 250. Total assessable income is 15,350. From here, using these three figures, we have to calculate share of profit. Then we can calculate the tax share of profit for each partner equally, because that is their proportion equally. We have to apportion. Then wife's salary should be considered separately for Mr. B. Then investment income should be mentioned. Then the qualifying payment. Interest on loan given to Mr. wife is deductible subject to provision of section 33. Mr. B's salary is deductible but treated as income of Mr. B. So these are very important. Earlier I have mentioned only the partners' salaries and partners' interest part, but here you have given wife's salary and wife's interest portion. So that is deductible because that interest loan is given by Mr. A's wife. So for Mr. A's wife's loan, we can pay interest that is deductible under section 33. දැන් මෙතන විශේෂයෙන් මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ ඉස්සෙල්ලා කතා කරපු ගානේ මේ ගානේ කලින් ගානේදී salaries ගෙවලා තිබුණේ partners ලට විතරයි, interest එක ගෙවලා තිබුණේ partners ලට විතරයි. හැබැයි මේ ගානේදී partners ලට salary ගෙවනවට අමතරව partner ගේ wife කෙනෙකුට salary ගෙවුවා. partner කෙනෙකුට ණයපොලි ගෙවනවට අමතරව partner ගේ wife කෙනෙකුටත් ණයපොලි ගෙවුවා. partner ට ගෙවන ණයපොලිය අඩු කරන්න ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක නිසා අපි ඒක add back කරා. Here. Partners salaries and partners loan interest we added back. එතකොට බලන්න මෙතන salary wife ගේ salary එකවත් wife ට ගෙවපු interest එකවත් add back කරේ නැහැ. මොකද ඒක wife ට ගෙවපු එක add back කරන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. But interest on loan given by Mr. A's wife is deductible. Deductible කියන්නේ අපි එතන ඒ වියදම අඩු කරනකොට අඩු කරන්න ඉඩ දෙනවා loan එක නිසා. හැබැයි wife ට ගෙවුවා නම් salary එකක්. මේ salary එක we consider as income splitting. So because of that we add that salary's income as an income of Mr. B. එතකොට Mr. B ගේ income එකේ කොටසක් විදිහට තමයි අපි සලකන්නේ B ගේ wife ට ගෙවපු salary එක. ඒක තමයි මම අර income splitting කියලා කිව්වේ. එතකොට loan එකක් දීලා ඒකට අදාළව interest එක ගන්න එක නෝනත් ගන්නවා පිට කෙනෙක් උනත් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. පිට කෙනෙක් loan එකක් දුන්නත් wife loan එක දුන්නත් interest එකක් ගෙවනවා. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. හැබැයි wife ට පඩියක් ගෙවන එක අපි සලකනවා. ඒක පනතේ විශේෂයෙන්ම කියලා තියෙනවා නෝනට ගෙවනවා නම් salary එකක් ඒක husband partner නම් එහෙම නැත්නම් husband ට ගෙවනවා නම් salary එකක් නෝනා partner නම් spouse ට ගෙවන salary එක ඒ අනෙකුත් partner වෙච්ච spouse ගේ income එකක් විදිහට සලකන්න කියලා. ඒක නිසා ඒක අපි separately මෙතනට අරගෙන යාට සලකනවා. ඒතකොට interest income එක තියෙනවා, investment income එක තියෙනවා, qualifying payment එක තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට මේ අර කලින් විදිහටම අරගෙන ඒව එයාගේ income එකේ කොටසක් විදිහට සලකනවා. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි අපි එයාගේ මුළු income එක අරගෙන අර මම කිව්වා වගේ කරපු පේමන්ට් එක ඉන්ස්ටෝල්මන්ට් පේමන්ට් එකක් කරා නම් ඒ පේමන්ට් එකට එයාට ක්‍රෙඩිට් දෙන්නේ මේ ඔක්කොම ඉන්කම් ටික සලකලා තමයි ක්‍රෙඩිට් එක දෙන්නේ. I think you can understand the difference between two examples, first example and the second example. The next question, Miss Rasika and Miss Tilaka are partners in a partnership where profits and losses are shared 65% and 35%. The partnership carries on the business of manufacturing garments for the domestic market since 2019. Mr. Nadir, husband of Rasika, is working as the factory manager and receives salary of 150,000 and vehicle allowance 70,000 monthly. No, actually, if because we consider it as a income splitting. That means sometimes husband, without making the payment by husband, he can split that income into wife. So that is part of the husband's income. The net profit of the partnership for the year ended 31st March 2025 was 9.6 million. After deducting all expenses including the following. So expenses are given. Salaries to partners, Rasika 1.6, Tilaka 1.6. Rasika has been given 50,000 vehicle allowance monthly. Interest paid to Tilaka on a loan was 380. The following are the assets disclosed to the financial position. So you have given financial position of the assets: new land, building purchased, motor lorry, delivery van, new machine, furniture, computer and software. The book depreciation charged to the income statement is 6.9 million. The new machine was purchased on 30th November 2024, just after the disposal of the old machine, which was purchased in June 2022 for 3.6 million. As per the accounts, accumulated depreciation was 1.4.
Yes, madam, we can't see the screen.
Hello, yes?
We can't see the screen, madam.
Sorry. Hello. Can you see the question? Okay, I will share this question today. But by mistake I have shared only the answer. Yes, I forgot to send this one. Today I will share the question. Then we can do the calculation now. Okay, this is the answer for Rasika and Tilaka. You have given net profit, that is 9.6 million. After that, salary is paid to Rasika and Tilaka. We have to add it back because salaries paid to partners are not allowed as a deduction, but salaries paid to partner's spouse, that is allowable as a deduction, but it is a part of the income of that spouse who is in the who is a partner of that partnership. Then vehicle allowance paid to Rasika, that is also a part of the salary, that is why we added it back. 600,000 we should add back. Then interest paid to Miss Tilaka on loan granted, that is also an amount paid to a partner, so we have to add it back, that is 380,000. Then husband salary and vehicle allowance, that is allowed, so I have separately mentioned that husband salary and vehicle allowance, it is allowed as a deduction. Then book depreciation should be added back because we are not allowing to deduct it, but we have to calculate capital allowances for each vehicle. So for the land, capital allowances are not allowed as a deduction. Then for the building, that building value is 8 million. For that one, 20 years period we have to grant capital allowances, that is 400,000. Then we have a machine disposal, so we have to calculate the amount we received from that disposal, so cash amount should be calculated. I have already explained this, the method of identifying cash or realization, consideration for the realization. We have to do this we have to do the calculation like this, so we know the cost. Then the accumulated depreciation you have given, profit already charged to the P&L, you know the value. Then using these four values you can calculate the consideration for the realization of machine, then that is 3.8 million. Then we have to calculate the gain on machine disposal. We should calculate it like this. From the sale proceed, we have to deduct written down value. Written down value can be calculated using the cost of the machine. We know the cost of the machine, then the year of purchased. Using that two figures we can calculate the capital allowances already granted amount. From the cost of the acquisition we can deduct capital allowances granted amount. Then we have written down value of the disposed vehicle. Then we know the sale proceed and the cost of then the written down value. After deducting written down value from the sale proceed, we have the gain. So that gain is 1.6 million. It is a part of the business income, so we have to add it to the business profit. Then for the machine purchase during the year, that is capital allowances is entitled for the new machine because we consider it as it fulfilled the condition, that is you owner user condition. It should be, the machine should be owned by the partnership, and if we assume that it is used during the year of assessment, so we can grant capital allowances, so we can divide it by 5. So now I think you can understand, for the tax liability calculation for individual, company or the partnership, applicable provisions are very similar. Then for the motor lorry, capital allowances can be granted. Then for the delivery van, leased one, for the leased vehicle, we consider the leased agreement entered after 2018 April 1st, that finance leased vehicles, so finance leased assets are considered as purchased, because therefore we can grant capital allowances for that kind of leased vehicles or leased assets. The period is 5 years, because that is leased means we consider it as a purchase, so that is why we can grant capital allowances for 5 years period. Then for the furniture, capital allowances can be granted. Then for the computer hardware and for the computer software, capital allowances can be granted. Then business promotion expenses, that expenditure is allowable. It is already deducted, therefore it is not necessary to deduct again. Donations, that is not allowed as a deduction at the time of calculating assessable income, so we have to add it back. 200,000 should be added back. The legal cost, that is a personal cost, because that is for the personal asset, so it is not allowed as a deduction, so I added it back. Then bad debts written off. Bad debts written off are allowable, but provisions for the bad debts, it is not allowable. Here we don't have provisions, but the written offs are there. That is allowable as a deduction. It is already deducted, not necessary to deduct it again. Then we have plus column and the minus column. After calculation, after deducting minus column from the plus column, we can calculate partnership share of profits. Sometimes this amount can be a loss. If it is a loss or if it is a profit, no matter, we can divide it into partners. Sometimes it is a profit, sometimes it is a loss. මේක profit එකක් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, loss එකක් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඔයාලට මතක ඇති මම කිව්වා loss එකක් වුණත් profit එකක් වුණත් partners ලට මම ඉස්සෙල්ලා කියපු විදිහට බෙදන්න ඕනේ. Then the qualifying payment, we have to consider whether it is a qualifying payment or not. To be considered any payment as a qualifying payment, there are some specific conditions, so you have to consider that conditions. If that donation is to an approved charity, to be deducted that donation as a qualifying payment, definitely that donation should be in cash. Here this donation is made not in cash but as a material, as a clothes. So that is not allowable as a qualifying payment. I think you can remember ඔයගලන්ට හොඳට මතක ඇති qualifying payment එකක් charitable institution එකකට නම් කරේ approved charity එකකට නම් ඒක cash වලින් දුන්නොත් විතරයි qualifying payment එකක් වෙන්නේ. මෙතන cash වලින් නෙවෙයි දීලා තින්නේ charity එකට. ඒක government එකට කරපු donation එකක් නම් doesn't matter whether it is in cash or in kind මොන විදිහෙන් දුන්නත් ඒක deductible without any restriction. But for a charity, first of all, we have to consider whether the donation is made in cash or not. If it is in cash, then we can restrict it into the specific limitation. අපි සල්ලි වලින් දුන්නා නම් විතරයිනේ ඊළඟට බලන්නේ සීමාව. සල්ලි වලින් නැත්නම් සීමාව බලන දෙයක් නැහැ. So here it is not a qualifying payment. Then we can calculate the taxable income of the partnership. මේ හැම එකක්ම අපි මෙතෙක් කතා කරපු ගණන් වගේම තමයි. Then we can calculate the tax liability, tax payable amount for the first 1 million, that is zero rated, no tax. For the balance amount, 6% should be applied, then that is 965,000. Then we have to move to the allocation of share of profit to partners. මෙන්න මේ නම මේකට ඊටාම වැදගත්. ඒතර අපි මෙන්න මේ කරන part එකට කියන්නේ allocation of share of profit to the partners කියලා. එතකොට share of profit allocation එක තමයි අපි මේ specific table එකකින් කරන්නේ. මේ table එකේ total column එක සහ partners ලාට separate columns තිබීම අනිවාර්යයි. ඒකෙන් තමයි අපි partner ගේ tax liability එක වෙනම හදන්න අවශ්‍ය තොරතුරු ගන්න. Therefore this table is really important. Then we can calculate share of profit after calculating these things. So that means first of all we have to keep blanks for the first line. Then we have to add salaries paid to the partners. Total amount should be mentioned first. Total column එකෙන් තමයි පටන් ගන්නෙ. Total column එකේ මුළු ගාන දානවා, balance ටික දානවා. Then vehicle allowance, it is also a part of the salary, so it should be mentioned here. Then interest on loan, that is should be mentioned. Then after that we can calculate the share of profit. After calculating the share of profit, we can apportion it into Rasika and Tilaka based on the percentage share of profit. Then we can mention husband's salary under Rasika. Then we have to move to the tax computation of the partnership. මම එක හදලා නැහැ මෙතන නේද? ඔව් අපිට ඒක වෙනම හදාගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. ඕගලන්ට පුළුවන් නම් ඒ පාර්ට් එක තනියම හදන්න. ඒ පාර්ට් එක තනියම හදන්න මම අනිත් දවසේ partnerගේ tax liability එක හදන්නම්. When you are calculating the tax liability of partnership, now you know the share of profit. That means partnership income, that is if we are calculating Rasika's tax liability, partnership income, when you are calculating the partnership income, these two figures should be included, not only the 10 but 2.6 also a part of Rasika's income. Then you have to mention the interest portion of Rasika. No, because investment income also here, that amount should be calculated separately. Then as we calculated tax liability of Mr. Saman and Mr. Samantha, you can calculate the tax liability of each partners. එතකොට අපි partners ලාගේ tax liability එක මෙතනින් එහාට ඔයගලන්ට හදාගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. partnership එකේ tax liability එක හැදුවා. මේක හදලිවලා husband ගේ salary එක මේකට include කරනවා රසිකට. include කරලා එයාගේ ඒ tax liability එක separately හදනවා. මම මෙතන හදුවා කියලා එක හදලා නැහැ. එතකොට ඔයගලන්ට එක හදාගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතන දාලා තියෙන්නේ මේ qualifying payment එකට පුංචි guide එකක් විතරයි. So using this guide you can keep it in on your mind. For the individual, for the partnership and for the company. So for the partnership and company we consider equally because it is given for entity. එතකොට qualifying payment එක ගැන කතා කරනකොට මේක entity එකට කතා කරන නිසා දෙන්නට මේක විදිහට සලකන්නේ. But part individual එකනේදී මේක separately සලකනවා. එතකොට මේ වගේ තමයි අපි මේ liability එක calculate කරන්න. එතකොට මේ partner ට යනකොට අර පළවෙනි ගානේ අපි හැදුවා වගේ partner ගේ tax liability එක තනියම ගණනය කරන්න. හරි. දැන් අපිට partnerships වලට මේ ගණන් තුන හැදුවාම හොඳටම ඇති. මේව හදලා නිතර practice කරන්න. tax මේකේ ගැටලු මොන හරි තිබුණොත් next week එකේ මාත් එක පොඩ්ඩක් කතා කරන්න මේක කොහොමද calculation එක කරන්නේ කියලා. මේ ගානේ other income නැහැ. No other income. Partnership does not have other sources of income, so only business income is there. So you can calculate partner's tax liability according to the first example. In the first example, Mr. Saman and Mr. Samantha, I have calculated their partner's tax liability. Accordingly, you can calculate Rasika and Tilaka's tax liability and A, B and C's tax liability. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ tax liability තනියම හදන්න first example එකේ විදියට. I will share these questions with you. We have only 3 days to finish our course outline, so I have already done individual taxation, company taxation and partnership taxation, that is income tax. Then I have done methods of payment, that is part of the administration provisions. So in addition to that, for income tax we have to do some administration provisions. Prior to that, please give me 5 minutes break. You will have 5 minutes break. We can start by 10:15 we can start the session. පුංචි break එකක් මට දෙන්න. මට මේ slide එක open කරගන්නකම් 5 or 10 minutes 5 minutes break is enough. Administration provisions. So method of payment also a part of the tax administration, but I have already done that part, so I can start administration provisions from section No, so administration provisions are starting from section 97. So we can start it now. So section 97 is for the officers. So tax liability, calculation of tax liability is in the first part of the Inland Revenue Act. In the part 2, it provides provisions for administration. So we call it administration provisions. It is from chapter 9. It starts from chapter 9. So it has several chapters are there for tax administration part. First one is for the officers. So tax administrator is the Commissioner General of Inland Revenue. Then the Commissioner General can delegate that Commissioner General's power to the tax officials in the department. So section 100 is for the confidentiality. So confidentiality means it is very important. So that means when a taxpayers filing their tax return or tax documents to the department, that is very sensitive. All persons, all important data is included in that document, mainly in the tax return and the and their audited accounts. Therefore confidentiality is very important. එතකොට මේ confidentiality එක we have responsibility to keep that confidentiality, so therefore we cannot disclose any details of a taxpayer to another person, a third party, except that parties are mentioned, except to the parties that are mentioned in section 100. So in the section 100 specifically කියලා තියෙනවා මෙන්න මේ කට්ටියට විතරයි තොරතුරු දෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඒ තොරතුරු තියෙන පට්ටිය හැරුණාම වෙන කිසිම කෙනෙකුට තොරතුරු දෙන්න බෑ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න ඔෆිසර්ස්ලාට. ඒතර මේ ඔෆිසර් කෙනෙකුට මේ වගකීමට ඔෆිසර් බැඳෙනවා until his death. ඒ කියන්නේ මරණය එයා රස්සාව කරන කාලෙ විතරක් නෙවෙයි. පෙන්ෂන් ගත්තත් රස්සාවෙන් විශ්‍රාම ගියත් අස් කරත් අස් ඉල්ලා අසුනත් අව හැමදාකටම බැඳුණු දා ඉඳලා ජීවිතාන්තය දක්වා එයා මේ වගකීමට බැඳෙනවා. Under section 101 we have informants. That means any individual can give the specific information with regard to some persons to the department. ඒ කියන්නේ හරියට ඔය මොනවාද මේ පෙත් සංගහනවා තොරතුරු ගැන කියනවා. ඊ වගේ දේවල් තොරතුරු දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට දෙන්න පුළුවන් පිට කෙනෙකුට තවත් කෙනෙකුගේ. ඒක තමයි ඉන්ෆෝමන්ස්. ඒගොල්ලෝ තොරතුරු දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ අයට වෙනම දීමනාවක් පේමන්ට් එකකුත් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවෙන් කරනවා. Then the registration. So every tax liable person should register in the department. To that registered person, tax department should give tax identification number. We call it TIN. TIN, tax identification number. Unique TIN is there. It is like national identity card number. National identity card එක වගේ තමයි TIN number එකත්. Then now without TIN number you can't do anything. When you are purchasing a vehicle, when you are purchasing a land, when you are doing anything, when you are opening a bank account, in this each and every institution they are requesting taxpayer identification number. So that is why for every person who has completed 18 years should register with the department and they should obtain tax identification number. So it doesn't say that they should pay taxes. This is only for the TIN registration, taxpayer identification number. If they have tax liability, then they separately they should obtain tax type registration. Then a person who has obtained tax type registration means for individuals we call it IIT, individual income tax. For corporation, that is corporate income tax. That is the tax type registration. That tax type registration should be obtained if a person should pay taxes. Otherwise they should obtain only tax identification number. Then the ruling. This is also very important part. Under section 104 to 100 section 11 you have given specific things with regard to rulings. We can consider two types of rulings, public rulings and private rulings. So public rulings means Commissioner General may issue public rulings setting out CGI's interpretation of the application of this act. Sometimes when the application of the tax provisions to some matters, sometimes two officers can consider for one matter in different way. So that is the ambiguity in the sections. So for the purpose of application of the consistency in the tax administration, to achieve consistency and provide guidance to the general public and to the officers, not only to the public but to the officers, Commissioner General can issue rulings. So we call it public rulings. The public rulings shall be bind on the CGIR until withdrawn, because public rulings are issued by the Commissioner General. So Commissioner General is binding on that. Public ruling shall not be binding on taxpayers. එතකොට taxpayer කෙනෙක්ට නෙවෙයි මේක බැඳීම තියෙන්නේ කොමසාරිස් ජෙනරල්ට. එයා එකකට කිව්වා නම් මෙන්න මේ රූලින් එකක් ඉෂු කළා මේකයි කියලා, එයා ඒ රූලින් එකේ සදාකාලිකව ඉන්න ඕනේ. එයා ඒක වෙනස් කරන තුරු until he change it, he should in the same ruling, that is the binding in by the Commissioner General. So the next one is private ruling. Private ruling should be requested by the taxpayer. Public rulings are not requested by the taxpayers. It is a specific instruction issued by the Commissioner General to general public or to the officers in the Inland Revenue Department. Sometimes it can be requested by the officers of the Inland Revenue Department from the CGIR. So that is mainly internal matter, but it is a specific instruction to the general public. Private ruling is completely different thing. It is issued with the approval request of the taxpayer. So written application should be made by the taxpayer to the CGIR to issue private ruling. In that application, it should contain all the details of the transaction. Sometimes that ruling can be requested with regard to some transactions, sometimes some tax liability, some transactions, some issues, some businesses. So all the relevant details should be mentioned in the document in writing. So after full statement of the opinion, applicant's opinion also should be mentioned in the document. So sometimes Commissioner General can refuse the application, or sometimes Commissioner General can accept the application. After accepting the application, the Commissioner General should Commissioner General has already formed an interpretation committee for private ruling. So that application should be handed over to the interpretation committee. Interpretation committee is responsible to issue private ruling on behalf of the Commissioner General. So this is the process of issuing private rulings, forwarded by an application by the taxpayer. Then that private ruling should be registered within the department. After reviewing that application by the committee, they should consider whether to accept it or to reject. If it is acceptable, then the committee should allocate a number and advise to make a payment. That is, payment is 25,000. That amount should be paid to the department. After that, that request will be tabled in the committee. Then committee will issue their opinion on behalf of the Commissioner General. So that is exclusively to that specific issue. So it is not the general thing. So but after issuing the private ruling, the Commissioner General can publish it after generalizing that opinion, not the same issue requested by the taxpayer, but after in generalized form, it can be published in the IRD website. So next main important administration provision is record keeping and information collection. It is given from section 120 to 125. It says all records should be maintained by the taxpayer. Once the department requests some details, that taxpayer should provide that details to the department. And if some different tax rates to some taxpayers, government's financial statements separately to that specific business activities. So if some common expenditures are incurred, that should be apportioned to each business activity. So approved accountant shall be prepared all accounts, and they should attest and to the accuracy and the completeness of the accounts. Then all documents shall be kept in the place of business or investment activity unless a CGI have to keep at some other place. So all records should be kept in the premises for 5 years period or until expiration. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් ඒ ප්‍රශ්න හැම වෙලාවෙම අහනවා තොරතුරු දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට යම් පුද්ගලයෙකුට යම් දෙයකට අදාළ තොරතුරු අවුරුදු 5ක් යනකම් එයා තියාගන්න ඕනේ. සමහර ඒවාවල කාලේ ඉවර වෙලා නැත්නම් ඒ කියන්නේ යම් පීරියඩ් එකකට අදාළව ඇපීල් එකක් තියෙනවා නම් නඩුවක් දාලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒ තොරතුරු ඒ නඩුව හෝ ඇපීල් එක හෝ ඉවර වෙනතුරු තියාගන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් අවුරුදු 5ක් යනකම් මේ තොරතුරු තමන්ගේ ළඟ තියාගන්න ඕනේ. If a person has prepared records in language other than Sinhala, Tamil or English, that person shall at the person's expense provide a translation acceptable to the CGI. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ languages තුනට අමතර වෙන language එකකින් තියෙනවා. යා මේවා translate කරලා තමයි දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට දෙන්න ඕනේ. All financial statements, books and everything should be kept in Sinhala, Tamil or English. Amounts should be in Sri Lankan currency. If they have transactions in foreign currency, but they have to convert it into Sri Lankan currency. Then access to information, assets and land. එතකොට කොමසාරිස් ජෙනරල්ට බලය තියෙනවා ඕනෑම කෙනෙකුගේ බිස්නස් ප්ලේස් එකකට ඇතුල් වෙන්න ඕනෑම තොරතුරක් ඕනෑම වෙලාවක අරගෙන එන්න මේකට සම්පූර්ණ බලය කමිෂනර් ජෙනරල්ට දීලා තියෙනවා. So reasonable access to information, that means Commissioner General has authority to obtain any document from the taxpayer, access to any places, access to any business places, their lands, or inspect any place, request any document from the taxpayer. That authority is there. Then authorized officer may make a copy of the record, seize a record, seal records, question any person in the premises. ඕනෑම කෙනෙක්ගෙන් ප්‍රශ්න කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට කොමසාර් ජෙනරල්ට සම්පූර්ණ බලය තියෙනවා. ඕනෑම කෙනෙකුගේ තොරතුරක් ඕනෑම වෙලාවක ඕනෑම කෙනෙක්ගෙන් අදහස් කරන්නේ බදු ගෙවන්නන්ගේ තොරතුරු බදු ගෙවීමට අදාළ විය හැකි කියලා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන කෙනෙකුගේ තොරතුරු ඒ බිස්නස් ප්ලේසස් වලට යන්න පුළුවන්. මේ තොරතුරු කැඳවන්න එයාට බලය තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ තොරතුරු වලට කියලා කෑෂ් කවුන්ට් එකක් ගන්න. ඒ තියෙන තැන් සීල් කරන්න. එයාගේ කම්පියුටර්ස් ගේන්න. කම්පියුටර්ස් ටිකේ තියෙන රෙකෝඩ්ස් ගන්න. මේ ඕනෑම දෙයක් කිරීමේ බලය කොමසාරිස් ජෙනරල්ගේ ඔෆිසර්ස්ලාට ඔතොරිටි එක දීලා තියෙනවා මේ දේවල් කරන්න. Then tax return. I have mentioned some part of the tax return. So in the tax return there are some specific format is there for the tax return. So it is a specified format is there for the tax return. I have already mentioned about tax return. So tax return should be submitted to the department or no before 30th in any year for the year of assessment. Then we have information returns. So extension of time to file returns. So extension can be granted by the Commissioner General. He can extend the period, but specific reasons should be there. Tax return should be duly filled and should be submitted to the department. Then the assessment, after receiving a tax return from the taxpayer, it is a self-assessed tax return. Self-assessed tax return means taxpayer should prepare their tax return, tax liability based on their income sources. So after filing their tax return, we call it self-assessment. It is a self-assessed thing. අපේ රටේ තියෙන taxes කියන්නේ self assessed, තමන් විසින් තනියම තමයි ගණනය කරන්නේ. Therefore the person who submit the return submitted by the taxpayer, we consider it as a self assessment. It is a now you have, I think most of the taxpayers have already submitted their tax return, so we call it self assessment. So if a person has not submitted their return, the Commissioner General has right to issue an assessment. We call it default assessment. That means if taxpayer is not submitted their return, self-assessment return, based on the documents details available in the department, Commissioner General can assess that taxpayer. So we call it default assessment. Then advance assessment, these are the types of assessments: self-assessment, default assessment, advance assessment, and amended and additional assessment. So advance assessment is sometimes prior to the due date of the assessment, Commissioner General can issue advance assessments. Mainly for an example, if a taxpayer wants to migrate at that time, Commissioner General has power to grant to the Assistant Commissioner to issue advance assessments. So we call it advance assessment. Then amended or additional assessment, that means after taxpayer submitting their self-assessment, based on the details or documents available in the department or information available in the department, assessor or assistant commissioner has right or power to issue additional assessment or amend the assessment already submitted by the taxpayer. So we call it amended or additional assessment. But for the issuance of additional or amended assessment, there is a specific time period. That means if it is fraud or willful evasion, that means purposely, if taxpayer purposely hides some income, and if we identify that it is a willful evasion, then any time IRD can issue additional or amended assessment. But if it is not fraud or willful evasion, for any other cases 30 months are available to issue amended or additional assessment. 30 months is calculated from the date of filing the return. That means from the date of the filing return up to 30 months, within 30 months period, IRD can issue additional or amended assessment. Otherwise, they cannot issue. We call it time bar provision. Then for the issuance of further amended, that means after issuing one amended assessment, to that amended assessment, IRD can issue further amended assessment. So we call it further amended assessment. Specific time period is there. For all these assessments, we have a specific we have already specified the format. In that format, very important things should be there. Mainly the amount of the tax, penalty, late payment or interest, what is the tax period, and every important things should be included in that assessment. So after issuing the assessment, mainly amended or additional assessment, IRD should state the reasons for that assessment. That is that should be sent to the taxpayer mentioning this is the reason. Due to this reason, we are amending your return like that. So within 12 months period, taxpayer has right to file an appeal against that assessment. So Commissioner General can consider to issue to accept that amended assessment or not. So we call it objection appeals. So taxpayer has right to appeal because මොකද කොමසාරිස් ජෙනරල් ළඟ තියෙන තොරතුරු අනුවනේ එයා මේක amend කරන්නේ. amendment එකක් හරි additional assessment එකක් හරි දාන්නේ. Therefore taxpayer has right to issue objection or appeal. So Commissioner General they have to mention the reason for issuing that appeal. Then in writing to the, they have to write it to the Commissioner General not later than 30 days from the notice of the decision. Then specific grounds also should be mentioned. එතකොට මේ ඔක්කොම තොරතුරුත් එක්ක මෙයාට සිද්ධ වෙනවා එයාට appeal එකක් කරන්න. එතකොට මේ appeal එක ආවට පස්සේ Commissioner General should acknowledge that appeal within 30 days time period. So after that, Commissioner General have to review that appeal. Then CGIR can confirm, amend or increase that assessment. So that is a specific provision given to the taxpayer to object to any assessment made by the IRD people. So IRD හිතු විදියට assessment දාන්න බෑ. දැම්මොත් ඒකට අදාළව appeal කිරීමේ බලය තියෙනවා බදු ගෙවන්නා සතුව. එතකොට මේ administrative, we call it administrative review. So that review is done by the Commissioner General. The Commissioner General will delegate that power to the IRD officials to review that appeal, that request made by the taxpayer. We have a specific time period. So if that is if taxpayer is not agree on the decision made by the Commissioner General, then taxpayer has right to appeal to the Tax Appeal Commission. That is also a specific right to the Tax Appeal Commission taxpayer. එතකොට appeal එකක් දාලා appeal එකට අපි කියන්නේ administrative review එකක් කියලා. මේ administrative review එකට බදු ගෙවන්න එකඟ එක administrative review එකක් කරලා කොමසාරිස් ජෙනරල් වල යාගේ මතය කිව්වට පස්සේ බදු ගෙවන්නට තවදුරටත් පුළුවන් ඒකටත් එකඟ නැත්නම් tax appeal commission යන්න. tax appeal commission එකටත් අර වගේම කාලය ගිහිල්ලා tax appeal commission එකටත් පුළුවන් මේක reduce කරන්න, increase කරන්න, confirm කරන්න, null කරන්න assessment එක. එතකොට tax appeal commission එකනොත් එහාට යන්න ඕනොත් taxpayer කෙනෙකුට පුළුවන් court of appeal යන්න, but it is only for the question of law. අපේ සාමාන්‍ය question of law තිබුණොත් විතරයි, එතන නීතිමය ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබුණොත් විතරයි යාට court of appeal යන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. So those are the main facilities provided to the taxpayer. Then these are the interest, penalty and criminal proceedings provided in the act against some issues, some wrongdoings. That means for the late payments we have to collect interest on underpayments 1.5 per month, interest on refundable. That means if we have to refund some amount to the taxpayer, if it is delayed, then 1.5% of the interest should be paid to the taxpayer. So interest on underpayment we have given section 151 for that one. Then interest on refundable, that is 0.5% of the interest should be paid to the taxpayer. So in addition to that, penalty also there are. Penalty for failure to register, that means taxpayer should be registered within the department if that there is a tax liability. If fail to register, penalty not exceeding 50,000 is payable by the taxpayer. Late filing of tax return, the greater of 5% of the tax due plus further 1% of the tax due should be paid to the department, and 50% plus further 50,000 plus further 10,000 for each or part of the month should be paid. However, the penalties cannot exceed 400,000. So this is penalty. Previous one is interest. So not only penalty, interest also should be paid by the taxpayers. Then fails to pay within 14 days of the due date of the tax amount, then 20% of the tax due but not paid should be paid. Fails to pay an installment within 14 days, then another 10% should be paid. Negligent or fraudulent underpayment, if there is a negligent or fraudulent underpayment, these are the tax rates applicable for taxpayers. Then providing false or misleading statements, failure to maintain documents. So sections also I have mentioned, and the amounts that should be paid as penalty also mentioned in this table. So failure to provide facilities, ඒ කියන්නේ අපි දැන් ඒ ස්ථානයේ අපේ ෆීල්ඩ් විසිට් එකකට ගිහිල්ලා අද ඔෆිසර්ස් ඒ අදාළ ප්ලේස් එක විසිට් කරපු වෙලාවක ටැක්ස් පේස්ලා එන්න දෙන්නේ නැතුව දොර වහලා ඩොකියුමන්ට්ස් බලන්න දෙන්නේ නැතුව එහෙම දේවල් කරොත් ඒවටත් පෙනල්ටි තියෙනවා. ඒතර මේ පුංචි ගණන් තමයි පෙනල්ටි විදිහට තියෙන්නේ. ගාන පුණාට මේකෙන් ටැක්ස් පේ කෙනෙකුට වෙන එයාගේ ගුඩ්විල් එකට වෙන හානිය මහා විශාලයි. failure to comply with third party notice. Third party notice ඒ කියන්නේ අපි බැංකුවක් තමයි third party එකක් වෙන්නේ. example එකකට එහෙමත් නැත්නම් මේ වගේ ණයකරුවෙක් ණය හිමියෙක් ලබන්න බලාගෙන ඉන්න කෙනෙක්, ගෙවන්න ඉන්න කෙනෙක්. එතකොට ඒ කෙනෙකුගෙන් අපි තොරතුරු ඇහුවත් එයා නොදුන්නොත් එයාට ටැක්ස් එකක්, එයාට පෙනල්ටි එකක් තියෙනවා. transfer pricing penalties කියලා වෙනම තියෙනවා. ඒතර මේ transfer pricing කියන්නේ ඒක වෙනම subject එකක් අපි ගැන කතා කරමු. transfer pricing වලට අදාළව penalty ටිකක් වෙනම තියෙනවා. Not only the penalty, not only the interest, criminal proceedings also there. Willful evades or attempts to evade taxes. So not only the penalty but imprisonment also there. Then willfully impedes or attempt to impede the department in the administration of this act. එතන පනත ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න බාධාවක් කරනවා නම් එතනත් 1 million or to imprisonment or both fines can be applied. Then failure to preserve secrecy, මේක අදාළ වෙන IRD එකට ඒගොල්ලෝ තමයි secrecy එක preserve කරන්නේ. So provision is there or criminal proceeding is there. So these are the administrative provisions applicable for Inland Revenue Act. So we have already finished income tax liability, and then we have to discuss about value-added tax and SACL. Then in addition to that, some of the international taxation. So that part also we can do in the next within. We have another 3 lessons. During that period we can finalize, we can do all other tax liabilities and the international taxation part. Okay. So I think we can stop the session to today's session. I have given you some examples, and in addition to that I have shared some answers also. Please try to calculate tax liabilities and revise them. මම දීලා තියෙන examples ටික කරන්න, ඒවල උත්තරත් එක එකින් එකට සසඳන්න. Investment income and capital gain handout I have already shared. I will check with Miss Kalhari. We didn't receive capital gain and investment income dues and recordings yet. Why? We have already done that, no? අපි එක කරා නේද? කවුද ඒක දාන්නේ? අපි capital gain and investment income part එක කරානේ, and records. කවුද මේක record කරන්නේ? ශශිකලා. මේක හම්බුනේ නැද්ද? capital gain and investment income එක? Okay, I will share it again. I will ask Miss Kalhari මම අහන්න මම මිස්ටර් කල්ලා හරියට මේ ඔක්කොම දාලා ඇති මගේ ඇරිලා තියෙනවා නම් මම ඒකයි දාන්නම් හරි then we can stop the session okay good night
Good night, madam.
night